place called our town. It was ranked by Thurman Wilder. The name of the town, Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude, 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude, 70 degrees, 37 minutes. The first step shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The sky's beginning to show some streaks of light over the east there, just behind our mountain. The morning star gets wonderfully bright the night before it has to go. Well, I better show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Over there is a railroad station, tracks go that way, some Polish towns cross those tracks and some Canuck families. Over there is the Congregational Church. Across the street is Presbyterian. Over there is Methodist and Unitarian. Baptist is down the Hollow by the river. And Catholic is over beyond the tracks. Over here is Town Hall. Post office combined, jails in the basement. William Jennings Bryan once made a speech from these very steps. Along here is row stores, Hitching Post horse lots in front. First one of those has been coming on about 5 years. Belonged to Major Cartwright, a rich citizen, lives in the White House on the hill. Over here is the grocery store, Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most every town managed to those two stores at least once a day. Over yonder is a public school, further still, high school. 9:15 mornings, noon time, 3 o'clock afternoons, the whole town can hear yelling and screaming from those two schoolyards. Up here is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. There's some scenery for those of you that think there needs to be scenery. This is Mrs. Garner. This is Mrs. Gibbs Garner. Peas, beans, Rachel, Polyhawk, and a whole lot of burdock. In those days, our newspaper came twice a week. The Grover's Corners Sentinel. This is Mr. Webb's, Editor Webb's house. Mrs. Webb's garden, just like Mrs. Gibbs, only got a lot of sunflowers too. And right here, a big butternut tree. It's a nice town. You know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever comes out of it, as far as we know. Earliest tombstones in the cemetery say 1670, 1680. They're Grovers. Cartwright, Gibbs, Percy's, same names as around here now. Well, as I said, when they've begun, the only lights on in town are over in a Polish town where a Polish mother's favorite with the twins. And in the Joe Crowell house where Joe Jr. is getting up asked to deliver the papers, and Doc Gibbs. Coming down Main Street now. Coming back from that baby case. Well, as I said, Doc Gibbs actually died in 1930. The new hospital is named after him. But his wife died first. Long time ago, in fact, she was actually visiting her daughter Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Kenton, Ohio. And she died there. Pneumonia. But her body was brought back here. She's in the cemetery there now, with a whole mess of Gibbs and Percy's. She was Julia Percy's before she married Dr. Gibbs in the Congregational Church. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. Well, as I said, Doc Gibbs going home. Got the call 1:30 this morning. Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb here making breakfast. And let's see, Joe Crowell Jr. delivering the paper.
Morning, Howard. Morning, Doc Gibbs.
It's okay, we look similar. Morning, Joe.
Somebody been sick today?
No, just a pair of twins over in Polish town.
Would you like a big now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything important happened in the world since Wednesday?
Nothing much, except my school teacher, Miss Foster's, getting married to a fella over in Concord.
I declare, how do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of our business, but if I were to say, if a person starts out to be a teacher, they ought to stay one.
How's it neat, Joe?
It's good. Like you said, I don't pay mind to it. It only tells me when it's going to rain.
And what's it telling you today? Is it gonna rain?
No, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
You ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you something about that boy there, Joe Crowell. Joe's awfully bright. He graduated high school here, top of his class. Naturally got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech, top of his class there too. Was a rebel on the Boston paper at the time. Was going to be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and he died in France. All that education, for nothing.
Oh, ¿qué pasa contigo, güey?
Here's Howie Newsom, delivered them.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Nah, Just a pair of twins over at Miss Groslowski's.
Twins, eh? This sun's getting bigger and bigger every year.
Is it gonna rain, Howie?
No. Fine day, let her open through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she now, Howie?
She's going on 17. She's a little mixed up with some offers on taking the milk every day. Kept going the whole trip here.
Good morning, Howie.
When did you see Dog Judge on the street?
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yep, someone off the separator. Don't know what that was.
Children, time to get up.
Stop.
George, Rebecca. Everything okay?
Yes, I declare easy as kids.
Here, sit down and drink your coffee. Bacon will be ready in a minute. You catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Miss Wentworth's coming over at 11, and I reckon I know what it's about, too. Her stomach is not beating.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep, Frank Gibbs. I don't know what will become of you. I do wish you could go away on some trips and take some rest. I think it'd do you some good.
Niños, Emilia, son las 7. Wally, es hora de la escuela.
I declare, you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George!
George, look sharp. Don't you hear your mother calling you? Well, I guess I'll go up and get 40 minutes.
Niños, Emilia, vas a llegar tarde. Wally, lávate bien, o voy a hacerlo yo misma.
Mom, the dress I wear. Now quiet, Rebecca. Your father's been out all night and he needs his rest. I've washed and ironed your blue Gainham special for you.
I hate this dress.
Oh, hush up with you. Every day I go to school dressed like a sick turkey. Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Mama, you're just going so funny.
I'll come and slap the both of you, that's what I'll do.
We've got a factory in our town too. Makes blankets. Part right on it. Running a fortune.
Niños, esto no se los permito. No quiero que caigan como lobos. Eso no para el crecimiento. Wally, quita tus libros.
Ay, pero mamá, tengo hasta las 10 de la mañana para saber todo lo que hay sobre Canadá.
Ya te lo he dicho, yo prefiero niños sanos que inteligentes. Ya te lo he dicho muchas veces. Yo soy las dos cosas, mamá. Tú lo sabes. Soy la más inteligente entre los muchachos de mi edad en el colegio. Tengo una memoria extraordinaria. Como te desayuno. Yo también soy inteligente con mi colección de estampillas.
Speak to your father about it when he's well rested. Seems to me 25 cents is enough for a boy your age.
I got a lot of things to buy.
Sharpie phosphorus. That's what you spend.
Well, I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I'll be serving no graduate. Well, Rebecca, it is nice to spend some every now and then. Mama, you know what I love the most in the world to you? Money. It's your brothers. Bye.
Niños, caminen rápido, pero no corran. Emilia, enderezate. Wally, súbete los pantalones hasta la rodilla.
Thomas Foster's under my best congratulations. Can you do that?
Yes, Mom.
Rebecca, you look very nice. Pick up your feet. Here, chickie, chickie, chick. Here, chick. Here you go. Here you go. Oh, good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
Good morning. I still get that tickling feeling in the back of my throat. I told Charles I didn't know I go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yeah, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. Well, I'm resting. I thought I'd drink some of these beans.
Oh, here, let me help you. Beans have been very good this year.
I've decided to put 40 quarts of them up, even if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but they get them down all winter.
Myrtle, I've got something to tell you. Because if I don't tell someone soon, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
Did one of those secondhand furniture boys come see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called upon me. At first, I thought he was a patient waiting to see Dr. Gibbs, but he wormed his way into my parlor and offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia Gibbs?
He did. That old thing. Gosh, it was so big I didn't even know where to put it. I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to keep it, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know what $350 would come over you.
Well, if I could get the doctor to go away someplace on a trip, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's always been a life dream of mine to go see Paris, France. Oh, I'm sorry.
How does the doctor feel about it?
Well, I did beat about the bush a little and said, if I got a legacy, that's how I put it, I'd make him take me somewhere.
What did he say?
Oh, you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he said. It might make him discontented with Grover's Corners to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Gosh, every 2 years, he makes a trip up to the battlefields of the Civil War and says that's enough a treat for anybody.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give over Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Dr. Gibbs being one of the greatest minds in the country just makes me despair.
It's a fact. Dr. Gibbs never is so happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times we've walked up those hills, paced around the bushes, like we were going to buy them.
Well, if that second-hand man is really serious about buying it, Julia, then you sell it. Then you'll get to see Paris, all right? That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. You know, it's just, to me, once in your life before you die, you ought to go someplace where they don't speak English or don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to see in a few hours. You see, there's some things I would like to know about the town first. So I've invited Professor Willard of our local university to sketch in a few details for us. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard? A few brief notes, legal professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners, let me see. Grover's Corners lies on the old plasticine granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of ebony and basalt crosses it with vestiges of Mesozoic and some sandstone outcroppings, but that's all more recent. 200, 300 million years ago? Some interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. 2 miles out of town in Satisfactor's cow pasture, they can be seen at the museum in our university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Oh, shall I read to Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation for civilization, etc.?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few brief notes on the history of man here.
Yes, anthropological data. Early Amerindian stock. Cotohaji tribes no evidence from before the 10th century of this era. Now turning to period. Possible traces of 3 families. Migration towards the end of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blight stock, for the most part. Since then, some Slav American.
The population, Professor.
Within the town limits, 2,640.
A moment.
Oh, yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in 507 more, making it 3,149. Mortality of birth rates constant by migration grade 6.032.
Thank you, Professor. I'm sure we're all very much obliged to you.
Not at all, sir, not at all.
Professor, please wait. Now, Editor Webb, the political and social report. Oh, Mr. Webb.
He'll be out in a minute. He just got his hand when he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Carlos, todo el mundo te está esperando.
Mr. Webb is our editor and publisher of our local paper here, Grover's Corner Sentinel.
Well, I don't have to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling more professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist. The rest, indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholic. The rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settled down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, I'd like to open up to the audience. Does anyone here have any questions for Mr. Webb?
Oh, we're here. Did any drinking bro his water? Oh!
Well, I wouldn't know what you call much. Saturday night's the farm hand me down at Elliot Greenhouse Stable in Hollerson. We got one or two town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here. Except in the medicine chest, you know. Right good for a snake bite. Always was.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question? I didn't quite hear you.
Is no one in town aware of the social justice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all fighting like everyone else for a way the digital and sensible can rise at the top, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves. And those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Webb, is there any cultural union rules?
Well, man, very much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that play the piano at the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, man, there isn't much culture here, but maybe this is the place to tell you that we've got a lot of touches of a kind here. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the mornings, and we all notice a good deal about the birds. We pay a lot of attention to them. And we watch the change of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things? You're right, man. Very much. Robinson Crusoe in the Bible, and the Handel's Latigo, we all know about that. And the Wooster's mother, those are just about as far as we go.
Sorry, Fox. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll head back to town, where all 2,642 have had their dinners and have washed up. There's a early afternoon calm, a hum and buzz coming from the schoolyards there, a few buggies on Main Street, horses dozing at the hitching posts, Doc Gibbs in his office making people say ah, and Editor Webb mowing his lawn. One man in 10 believes it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower. No, sir. It's actually later than I thought. There's children coming out of school any minute.
I can't, Louis. I've got to go home and have my mother, I promise.
Caminas para las nubes, Emiliano. Ven, ¿qué es ahora?
Eres terrible, papá. Me dices que pongo los pies en la tierra y inmediatamente te burlas de mí. Nunca más te haré caso.
Dios, nunca antes he sido el beso de un dama tan importante.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Go play baseball in the fields, young man. Make sure there's nowhere to be playing baseball.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Corporal made me talk about the Louisiana persons instead. I worked an awful long time on both, though.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're over in your room doing homework.
Why, can you?
You certainly do stick to it. I don't see how a person can sit still that long. Guess you must really like school.
Well, I always feel something I have to go through.
Yeah,
I don't mind it really. It passes the time.
yeah. Hey, Emily, what do you think? We could work out a kind of telegraph system from your window to mine, and every once in a while you could give me a kind of hint or two about those algebra problems. I didn't mean answers, Emily. Of course not. I meant like some little hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you ever get stuck in a problem, George, use it to me and I'll give you some hints.
Just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure that it's just the way a person's naturally born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I can just come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better go to the baseball field for practice. Thanks for your talk, Emily. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George. Emilia, ¿pueden ayudarme a desmontar estas habichuelas? Veo que George Gibbs se ha vuelto conversador, ¿no? ¿Cuántos años tendrá? No lo sé. A ver, tiene que tener cerca de 16. Mamá, hice una presentación en clase, me fue muy bien. ¿De qué se trataba? Debes enseñarle a tu padre lo que hiciste a la hora de la comida. Sobre la compra de Luisiana, me quedó tan fluido como un hilo de seda que corre por una bobina. Voy a dedicarme a hacer discursos toda mi vida. Mamá, ¿está bien así? Trata de no cortarlos tan grandes si puedes. Mamá, quiero que seas sincero conmigo y me digas algo. ¿Qué? Dime. Mamá, ¿crees que soy atractiva? Claro que sí. Todos mis niños tienen buenas facciones. Me avergonzaría si no fuera así. Pero no es eso lo que quiero preguntarte. Te pregunto si soy bonita. Emilia, ya te lo he dicho. Tienes una buena cara. ¿Qué tonterías traes? Mamá, nunca me dices la verdad sobre nada. Te estoy diciendo la verdad. Mamá, ¿eres tú bonita? Sí. ¿Quieres que te diga la verdad? Era la muchacha más bonita del pueblo. Atrás de mi mami Carmen. Pero, mamá, debes de ser sincera conmigo. ¿Soy yo lo suficientemente bonita para hacer que alguien, que la gente se fije en mí? Emilia, basta, me agotas. Ya te lo he dicho, tienes un buen canto para tener una vida normal. Vamos, andando, lleva esta vasija. Pero mamá, yo no voy a contar nada.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Thank you, Emily. Now I'll have to interrupt you again. I think now is a good time to tell you that the part right after we got looking at baking Grover's Corners had to go to Vermont for the marble. Sorry to say. And a friend of mine has asked me what to put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. They're putting in a copy of the New York Times and editor Webb Sentinel. You see, we're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellows have found a way of painting Latin material with a sort of glue, a silicate glue, that'll keep it 1,000, 2,000 years. So, naturally, they're putting in the Bible and the Constitution of the United States and some copies of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it. And yet, all we know about them is the name of kings, some copies of wheat contracts, and contracts for the sale of slaves. And yet, every night, those families sat down to dinner. Father came home from work, smoke went up the chimney. Same as here. And in Greece and Rome, all we know about them is what we can piece together from the joking poems and the plays they put on for the theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this play, put in the cornerstone. So people 1,000 years from now know a few simple facts about us, more than the Lindbergh flight and the Treaty of Versailles. So people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the province of northern New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were. In our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying. Well, it's late evening now. You can hear the choir practice going on in the Congregational Church, and the children are setting up, doing homework.
Look here, everybody. Music was brought to the world to give pleasure. Now from the top. Softer, softer, softer. Get out of your head and it's only good when it's out. You can love us to the max. You can beat it if you want to. Now from the top. Tenors.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which,
It's the third?
I guess, George, that's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards?
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George. Don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper?
Oh, I see. Thanks, Emily.
You're welcome. Well, the moonlight's so terrible. And with choir practice going on, I think if you hold your breath long enough, you can hear the train all the way from Constantinople. Do you hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to finish my work.
Good night, Emily.
Good night, George.
Before I forget, show me your hands. Who's going to be able to come on first Tuesday afternoon for Fred Hersey's wedding? That'll be fine. That'll be great. We'll do the same songs we did last month for Jane Broder's wedding. Now we'll do Our Glory and Our Ballad. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk.
George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Paul.
Make yourself comfortable. I'll keep you. How old are you, George?
I'm 16, almost 17.
What do you plan to do when school's over?
Why, you see, Paul, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
So you'll be willing, will you, to get up early, milk and feed the stock, and hoe and hay all day?
Why, sure I will. What's this about?
Well, earlier today in my office, George, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think that sound was? That was your mother chopping wood. There you see her getting up early every morning, cooking meals all day long, washing, ironing. And still, she has to go out to the backyard and chop wood? I suppose she just got tired of asking you, and she figured it'd be easier to do it herself. And there you are, eating her meals, wearing the clothes that she keeps nice for you. And you run off and you play baseball. Like she's some hired girl we keep around the house. Now that we don't like very much. Well, I knew all I had to do was bring your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I'm raising your spending money 25 cents. Of course, not for chopping wood for your mother. That's a gift that you give her. But, well, you know, you're getting older, so I suppose there will be things you need for it.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's see, your payday's tomorrow. You can count on that. Rebecca will probably feel like she got us some more, too. You know, I don't know what's keeping your mother. Choir practice was never as late as this before.
It's only half past 8, Paul.
Trips around the streets at this hour. You know, I don't even know why she's still in that old choir. She has any more voice than an old crow. About time you retired, don't you think?
Yes, Paul.
Have a good night. Get there. I'll tell Mr. Obano he want to put it in the paper.
Good night, Irma. Real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Ware, would you look at that moon? Potato weather for sure.
Now the others are gone.
Really, it's the worst scandal there ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Stimson. Now, Luella. But Julia, to have the organist church drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella.
We all know Mr. Stimson, and we all know the problems he's been through, and so does Dr. Ferguson. And if Dr. Ferguson can keep him in his job, the best thing we can do is just not notice it. Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have. It doesn't happen anywhere near so often. I hate to go to bed on a night like this, but the children will be staying up till hours. Good night, Luella.
Can you get him safely, Mama? It's bright as a day. I can see Mr. Soames sculling at the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance the way the men folk talk. We had a real nice time.
you're late enough.
Why are you any later than usual, Frank?
And you gossiping with a lot of heads.
No, don't be grouchy. Come on out and smell the heliotrope under the moonlight. Isn't that wonderful?
Frank, what did you do when I was away?
Oh, I read as usual. Were you and the girls gossiping about?
Oh, well, believe me, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone, was he?
First I've seen him. How that'll continue, I don't know.
I reckon I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs more than anybody in this town. Some people are made for small town life, but sometimes it's best to leave well enough alone. Come on, come inside.
No, Frank, wait. I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty to make sure you get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Naturally, there's no sense in going over that
Frank,
again.
you're just unreasonable.
Come on, come inside. Next thing you know, you'll catch a cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your little shop for a while anyway. No, start going upstairs.
Oh dear. There's only so many things to pick up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks her door at night. All those people in that part of town do.
Well, they're all getting citified. That's the problem with them. They ain't got nothing to burn. And everybody knows that.
Get over that. There's only for one of this window.
Let me just look a minute.
Well, go use your own window.
I did, but there's a moon there. George, you know what I think, do you? I think maybe the moon's getting near and near, and there will be a big explosion.
You don't know anything. If the moon were getting nearer and nearer, the guys who set up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they'd tell about it, and it'd be first thing in the papers.
George, is the moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, probably is.
9:30. Most lights are out. Except there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And Editor Webb, after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
You know, Mr. Webb?
Quite a moon.
Yeah.
Off by tonight?
Simon Stimson's been rolling around a little. Just saw his wife moving out to go home for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down for the night pretty well. Good evening, yes. Most of the town settled down for the night, Simon. I guess we better do the same. Can I walk along with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, you seem to beg of trouble. One thing after another. Oh, Bill. If you see that boy smoking cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. At least not 2 or 3 a year.
Well, hope not. Well, good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
¿Quién está ahí? ¿Eres tú, Muro?
No, soy el papá.
¿Por qué no te has ido a acostar?
No sé. No podía quedarme dormida. La luz de la luna es tan maravillosa y el perfume del heliotropo de la señora Gibbs. ¿Lo sientes?
Sí. ¿Tienes alguna preocupación, Emilia?
¿Preocupaciones, papá? No.
Bueno, pásalo bien. Pero que no te sorprenda tu madre. Buenas noches, Emilia.
Buenas noches, papá.
I never told you about the letter Drake forgot for our minister when she was sick. He wrote Jane a letter, and on the envelope, the address was like this: Jane Crocker, to Crocker from Gerber's Corners, Southern County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
And what's so funny about that?
Listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, continental North America, Western Hemisphere, The earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. And that's what it said in the envelope.
Well, what do you know?
And the postman brought it just the same.
Well, what do you know?
That's it for a sec.